everybody. Welcome to the Hallmark Movies podcast. And today we have a returning author with us that's been on the podcast multiple times before. But it's funny, Teri, because I realized that you've only actually done one other interview with us. The rest of the time you've just been a co-host, a guest for every other time, which is fun. But today we have Teri Wilson with us, and Teri, we always love having you on for any reason.
Hey, thank you. I love chatting with you guys.
Yeah. So how have you been? I don't think we've talked it's been a bit since we last had you on, and so how's 2024 been treating you?
Oh my gosh, it's been great. It's been really, really good. I've just been busy writing, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah. Well, you have written so many books. Like, how do you keep up with it? How do you just even keep having ideas for what to do and stories?
Oh my gosh. That's the easiest part to me. I get a lot of ideas. The hard part is finding time to actually turn all those ideas into actual books. And especially we were just chatting before we started. I think I told you I just turned in a book a few weeks ago, and I have another one due really, really soon. But my last one, I had such a cute premise at the beginning, and I didn't really plan enough. And I got to the middle of the book, and I was like, well, now what happens?
Yeah.
And so that was not fun. So like I said, the initial kernel of an idea, that's always the easy part. But, then adding enough layers to it, adding all the backstories of the characters and their separate goals and motivations, all of that comes for me after I have the cute, meet cute idea at the beginning and my just surface level who these people are. Those ideas, I get inspired by all sorts of stuff that I see. In fact, I have a file folder in my office, and I have one on my phone of just just news stories or just anything that I see in media or out in the world. I'm like, oh, well, that would be a cute premise, and then I file it away. And then later, I check back when I'm working on a proposal for my editor, that sort of thing. So the idea is, that's, like I said, that's the easy part. It's then developing it into an actual thing that becomes more challenging.
When you're writing multiple books at the same time, do they ever kind of mesh together, or you think, oh, I'm doing this for this book, oh, maybe it actually is better for that book, or what's that like?
I never do that. I can't write more than one book at the same time. I know authors who can do that. I've tried it and it's terrible. Just because, I don't know, as much as I don't like having really jam-packed deadlines close together, and as much as I say I don't like being on deadline when I'm behind and that sort of thing, which I don't, still I feel like it's also the time when I do my best writing, which is kind of a catch-22 situation, because that's when you're so immersed in the story. You're working on it so much and you're so in it that I just, even when I'm doing other things, I'm like, oh, this is what I should do, and it just comes really fast, that flow state or whatever. And I feel like it's impossible to get in that kind of, be in my story like that, fully immersed, if I'm working on more than one at the same time. So
I would think so. So you just with these two that you have due this month, you wrote those separately.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Well, I had a book due 3 weeks ago, and I had 2 books due 3 weeks apart, and actually that would actually never work, except the second one, the one that I'm finishing right now. It's a book for my main publisher, Harlequin. I've written a lot of books for them. Every now and then I write a project for them that's part of a multi-author continuity. And that's what this one is. It's part of their long-running Fortunes of Texas series. It's been around for literally decades. And so every year they do a Fortunes of Texas miniseries, and it's usually 6 authors writing 6 interconnected books. The books, they flow from one to the next. There's a separate romance in each one, but there are definitely big plots that span all 6 books. And I'm actually writing the 6th the sixth one. So I have a million different things to tie up. But when you're doing that, because of the complicated nature of it, six authors writing six books with all the same characters and everything that's going on. I mean, there is one editor who writes the overarching story. And I mean, I know what I'm writing. They give me an outline. So that obviously it makes it go much faster because I don't have to make any decisions because someone has already decided. It's basically just putting my voice into the story. So that's the only reason I'm able to write this book so quickly is because, like I said, I don't have to make any big plot decisions because the plot's already done. And I think it's even easier that it's the last book in the series because the Fortunes of Texas series is very over the top dramatic, super dry. Like my guy has a secret twin that he never knew about. There's all sorts of stuff going on. So there's a lot of soap opera level drama. And so to wrap up all that drama from six books, I mean, I'm just like writing furiously, hoping I can squeeze it all in. There's so much going on. But that makes it fun because I never my books usually aren't that, super dramatic over the top. So it's just a fun, different thing to do. So I like working on those.
Yeah, that would be interesting. It's kind of like playing, like the game of telephone where each person gets a different part of the story and you tell a little bit more and more and more. Yeah. that would be I can see how that would be a lot of fun. I mean, when you're writing for different companies, like you were writing for Hallmark Publishing versus now Harpeth Road, having some of the books published with them, and Harlequin, is it a kind of a different experience? Do you put on different caps depending on who you're writing for?
Not really. I mean, because my process is the same no matter who I'm writing for. And especially in the drafting phase, because I just do my thing and then I turn it in. But different companies have different processes with how they do edits and that sort of thing. And so and I've written for Harlequin for so long, I just kind of know exactly how it works. So when I'm writing for a different publishing company, it's just different because sometimes, they want you to turn something in without track changes, and everything I do with Harlequin is track changes. And Hallmark when I wrote for them, they had the most different process I'd ever done before. And that was really a different experience, but different editors like to do things different ways. I love working with Jenny at Harpeth Road. I mean, our books are, our writing styles are very similar. I've known her for a long time. We've both had Hallmark movies, and Jenny is super duper organized and particular, and she's real communicative. And I love that because, writing is a solitary thing. And so, I mean, I can go weeks without I have contact with the outside world, but I mean, I can go weeks without talking to anyone about my book or hearing from anyone at my publisher, or whatever, depending upon who the publishing company is. But, I hear from Jenny a lot, and I really, really like that. Sometimes I think maybe it's because she's an author too, so she knows what it's like, feeling like you're in it all by yourself, but I never get that feeling working with her, and I love that.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, she's great. Love her. Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies. Do you have a favorite series that you've done of the different series over the years?
Oh my gosh. No one's ever asked me that question about the series. I get questions about, do I have favorite books? That sort of
Uh-huh.
thing. So, I mean, I love anything royal. So of course I love, Once Upon a Royal Summer and Once Upon a Royal Christmas. Once Upon a Royal Summer was really, in a lot of ways, my total dream book to write.
Uh-huh.
Because I'd always wanted to write a very Hallmarky royal story. And it is, I mean, it couldn't get any more Hallmarky than Once Upon a Royal Summer. It's a theme park princess who meets a real life prince in disguise when he brings his daughter to the theme park. And it's just so sweet, like cotton candy sweet. And I just loved it. And so that series is definitely one of my favorites. And then I have a series that I just wrote, or I've finished it, but it's still coming out, from Harlequin, called Comfort Paws. And in that series,
Mm.
based on a therapy dog group, there's therapy dogs in every book that volunteer in the community. And that was really near and dear to my heart, because my dog Charm, who I'm sure you can see spread on the couch behind me, she's a therapy dog. We visit, a nursing home once a week, and then we also visit
Aw.
a preschool where kids read to her, kids who are struggling with their reading skills. So anyway, that's just a thing that's near and dear to my heart. So I was really excited to incorporate that into my writing. So I've been really excited about the Comfort Paws series too.
Oh, that sounds cute. Well, I recently read one of I think it's Love Unveiled.
Yes, well, I
Once.
love that series too.
Yeah, that was really good. So I read Faking a Fairy Tale, which I guess is the second one.
Yes.
But they all sound fun.
Yeah, Faking the Fairy. Well, I mean, I don't want to like persuade you not to read the rest of the series, but Faking the Fairy Tale is my favorite.
It was
Faking the Fairy Tale is
good.
one of the three. I love that. That was a really fun series to write too. I don't know. I'm just, I've been writing for a while, and I've written for big publishers. I've written for small publishers. I've written longer
Yeah.
books, smaller books. And just a few years ago, I've enjoyed working on all the books that I've worked on, but I'm really in the point in my career now to where I'm lucky enough to have work and have opportunities, and I'm only writing stuff that I'm super excited about. Like if I'm not 1000% into it and excited about it, I'm not going to do it. So I think that's why I'm just like, I love that book too. And I love that series too. Because I really genuinely love what I do, so hopefully that comes through in the writing.
I mean, I think anybody who's able to do what they love is blessed in this world.
For sure.
is so fortunate. You did a bunch of Secret Baby books for a while. What was that like? That seems like that would be a hard trope.
None of those were secret babies. I've never written
okay.
I've technically never written a secret baby. Like the true secret baby trope is where, the heroine usually is, anyway, one of the main characters has a baby, but has not told the other person that there was a baby, and then they come around and they're like, "Oh my gosh,
right,
your baby." I've never technically written that. Although I had a Fortunes of Texas book, like I told you, they're super dramatic. My first one came out earlier this year. Fortune's Lone Star Twins was the name of it. I had to think for a minute what it was called. That was pseudo secret baby because the heroine had twin infants that the hero didn't know about, but it wasn't because she lied. It was because he was dead, in air quotes, and now he's back from the dead. So he comes back from the dead and finds out that he has twins.
Like literally from the dead.
Yeah, literally from the dead. Well, I mean, he's not like a zombie. I mean, he faked his own death to protect.
Okay.
Yeah. This is not a spoiler. You find this out in the first chapter. So he was a county prosecutor. He had put some horrible person in jail, but
he's in like witness protection.
Yes, yeah. Never turned on a technicality, and the guy tried to kill him, and he faked his own death because the guy had also threatened his fiance, and he wanted to protect her. So anyway, now the big bad guy died. So my hero is coming. He's back. It's been like a year and a half, and he's back. And he's like, "Just kidding, y'all. I'm not dead." But then she's got twins, and so then he finds out that he has twins. So
oh, that's good.
kind
That's
of a
good.
secret baby, but it wasn't like she lied about it or was keeping it.
Right.
Didn't know because he was dead, and when he faked his own death, he moved like to a different area.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite of the main tropes, enemies to lovers or fake relationship, or do you have a favorite of them?
I love it. Well, I love enemies to lovers because I love writing banter. I really like it when they don't get along. So I do write a lot of that. I love to write fish out of water where someone's really uncomfortable in a new environment. Usually it's a city girl or a city guy going to the country because that's, that would be me. And I like fake relationships too. But back to the baby thing. Yeah, I did write a bunch of baby books.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because okay, so I wrote this. This is a funny story because I wrote this one book for Harlequin called The Bachelor's Baby Surprise, which is the most bonkers title ever. And even at the time, I was like, I don't really love this.
That sounds like Secret Baby.
I know. Okay, so here's the thing. I wrote the book, and the book is a surprise pregnancy book. Not very Hallmarky, so don't tell them. So no, my heroine has had a really bad, horrible day. A bunch of bad stuff has happened to her, and she has a one-night stand. And she wakes up in the morning, and she's like, "Oh my God, just get him out of here! I never do this. This is so unlike me." Blah blah. And so she basically shows the guy out the door. And then the next day, she has a job interview, and he's the guy interviewing.
Oh no.
And so she's studying to be a master's sommelier. The people who study wine and all that.
Yeah.
So he and there's another interviewer too, but they end up hiring her for the job. So she's like a sommelier at this fancy hotel, and he's the part owner of it. So, and then later she finds out that she's pregnant. And I had the idea for that because I was watching this documentary about sommeliers on Netflix, and I wanted to write a sommelier. I was just like, I really want to write one. The way that they study for all that is just so bonkers, like with the smelling of the wine. And I just wanted to write a wine book. And I was just like, well, what would be the worst thing? What would be the biggest conflict that could happen to a sommelier? And I'm like, oh, well, she'd be pregnant because then she can't drink the wine. She can't drink the wine. She can't smell the wine right. It's going to mess with all of her senses, So that's how I came up with the idea. And anyway, the bottom line is there was no baby in the book. The book spans her pregnancy. That is it. And so, but then, and so I threw out a few titles or whatever. And then my editor came back and she's like, well, this is what we want to call it. The Bachelor's Baby Surprise. And then she showed me the cover, and it's got this infant on the cover. And I'm like,
that's still,
there's no baby in the book. I felt like I thought, well, readers are going to read this and they're going to be upset because they're going to be like, I bought this for the baby. Because the baby was really cute.
Yeah.
And there's baby in the title. And so I did put the baby in the epilogue. The baby's on the page for the last 3 pages of the entire book. That's it. There's no baby in the book. The baby's in the epilogue.
That's really funny.
Dang it, y'all. If that was not my best-selling book ever, that book... and I kept looking at the ranking on Amazon. I was looking at my sales, and I was like, what the heck? This is crazy. And so then my editor emailed me. She was like, have you noticed that your book is selling like crazy? And I was like, well, yeah, but what's going on? Literally it sold twice as many copies of any other book I'd written for Harlequin for 10 years. So then they were like, so then I proposed the Love Unveiled series that we were just talking about, which I think I did put a surprise pregnancy in one of those books just because I had a feeling they were going to want something like that since that book did so well. And they were like, well, we were really hoping you would do a whole baby series. We really want something baby centric. And I love babies as much as the next person, but I prefer dogs. So I was like, a whole series about babies. Wow. That was just not on my radar, but that's ended up writing that whole series about babies. But I made them all really different. It was funny because I think I was on the 3rd one, and one of my writer friends was like, have you noticed that none of these books in this series are about women who actually had babies. It's like about people inheriting babies and people, I'm just like, oh no, I hadn't. I mean, I just was trying to make it different, to do it in a fun way that I wanted to do. So, but that's how all those babies came about, because for a while I was like the Harlequin baby queen.
Yeah.
So after that, I told my editor, after I wrote Bachelor's Baby Surprise and then the 4 books in the baby series, I told my editor, I said, I think I'm a little babied out. So I'd like to do something different. And that's when I proposed Love Unveiled again. And she said, yes, you can write that now. I was like, okay, great. And then I signed on to do a continuity like we were talking about. And of course I get it. And there's those babies in it. I was like, well played, Harlequin. Sign on for this baby book.
And you still have never done Secret Baby. That's hilarious.
At some point I'm going to do a legit Secret Baby. Because I do like the drama. My books are always very sweet. Even the ones that end up, having like a surprise pregnancy or whatever, they're a closed door. They're very, sweet and lighthearted, that sort of thing. But it's just fun to do something really over the top and different every now and then. And I think, one of these days I'm gonna have to do a true Secret Baby, just so I can have a title that says something, 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 Secret Baby.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's Jennifer Snow and her new book, All Signs Point to Malibu. This delightful and steamy new rom-com asks the question, what happens when the mystical convinces you to break up your ex's wedding? Think My Best Friend's Wedding, but woo! Haley Harris is a successful life coach that has visions of the future. When one of her visions predicts a not-so-happy ending for her ex Liam and his brand new fiancé, Haley sees it as a sign and plans to launch Operation Breakup, but before she has a chance, Liam's sexy, irritating best man starts messing with her plans. Will she push forward to sabotage the wedding, or will a speculative twist change fate forever? You can buy All Signs Point to Malibu this week at your favorite bookstore, or use the affiliate link below, and find out more about Jennifer at jennifersnowauthor.com. That's jennifersnowauthor.com. That would be great. That's so interesting to hear about how things evolve, and it's always, I don't care what media you're making, there's always an unpredictability. Like even with the podcast, like I'll have interviews where I'm like, nobody's gonna, like, I enjoy every interview I get to do, but I think nobody's gonna listen to this one. But then it takes off and gets thousands of views. Who knows? And then one I think, oh, this is a sure thing, people are gonna love this. Nah. Not hardly anything.
I've had that same thing happen with my books. I'm like, this is the best book I've ever written. It's going to do so great. And then people are like, but that baby book was so crazy. But that's how Unleashing Mr. Darcy came about, which is probably the book I'm most known for, because that was my first Hallmark movie and it did really well. And it has just like a cult following, which I love. But I had the idea for that book. It's a modern day version of Pride and Prejudice told in the dog show world, which, come on, that sounds insane. And even when I had, I was like, literally no one's going to want to read this book but me. And I had the idea because I was at a dog show showing my dogs, and I was trying to imagine what it would be like if, like, Jane Austen's Mr. Darcy was the dog show judge, because I was really nervous in the ring and really scared to show my dog. And so I just started thinking about it because I was rereading Pride and Prejudice at the time. And I thought, well, this would be so cute. And I was like, it's for me, like, who else would want to read this? Like, who has those two, who likes rom-coms, Jane Austen, and dog shows? Like, that's me. The Venn diagram would be tiny. And so I never thought I would write it, but I kept hearing, like I said, I like the banter. I kept hearing their conversations in my head. I kept hearing Elizabeth and Darcy, like, bickering. And so I thought, well, I'm just going to write the first 3 chapters and a synopsis and send it, to this agent I've been talking to, and I'm sure she's going to reject it, because we'd been talking for like a year and a half, and I had sent her other things that went on to get published by big publishers that she never liked. So, but then that was the one. She was like, I love it. I think I can sell this. And I was like, are you serious? And then it ended up doing so well, and I still don't understand it. I mean, I love it that people love it, but I'm still surprised by it.
You didn't know they'd have Ryan Patey coming out of a pool. I mean, I think that was the real determining factor.
Oh my God. You know what? That was part the determining factor. And I was on set that day. I don't know.
Oh, you were?
Yes, I was on set that day. I'm not sure what all I should say about that, but I was on set that day and it was the whole thing because that is an actual scene from the book. Because anyone who's watched a lot of Jane Austen modern day adaptions, especially of Pride and Prejudice, there's always a moment in the movie where Mr. Darcy is wet. So like the BBC one, they have Colin Firth diving into a pond and coming out of the pond. Bridget Jones' Diary is based on Pride and Prejudice. I mean, Colin Firth has a big fight in a fountain with Hugh.
Yeah, it's true.
There's always a wet Mr. Darcy moment. And so I just kind of as an homage to that very specific subgenre. I wrote that scene in the book. And so I was on set that day. It was my first day on set. And I had, kind of had my agent beg on my behalf to be on set because I think they were surprised that the author wanted to be on set. So I was trying to be on my best behavior and not say anything, like just literally sit there and not say a word. So we were at lunch and it was me and the executive producer and the director. And the director's like, so are we filming this swimming scene? And and the executive producer's like, no, the network told us we can't do it.
Oh,
Like, well, I think that we should do it. I think we should just do it and send it to them and then give them the option. And she's like, we already had, they already said no. And so they're going back and forth, back and forth. And finally I said something. I was like, well, and I explained to them why I wrote the scene. I said, do whatever you want. I'm thrilled to be here. Whatever you guys want to do. I literally could not. I mean, I was so happy to have a movie. I didn't care.
Sure.
But I was like, this is why I wrote it. And then the director was like, oh, we're definitely doing it now. And so then they filmed it right after lunch. And Ryan did a bunch of push-ups like right before. And then right after he ate like a huge platter of white Rice Krispie treats. It was so funny. But, when they did it, then the executive producer, she actually left. She said, I'm leaving the set because I already told them we weren't doing it and I'm not getting in trouble for this. And she left. And then they filmed the set, the whole pool scene. And I thought there's no way they're going to put it in because they had already said no, but the director was right. They liked it and they put it in. So,
yeah. See, and I've said for like, I think that sometimes Hallmark is too reticent to lean into the romance novel tropes and make them a little bit juicier. Like, or I'm not talking like anything above a PG, but like I don't know. I just think that sometimes they could be campier, sometimes they could be sillier, sometimes they could be sexier. Like again, within bounds, but there was like that made that movie. Like, I'm not kidding. Like that is the reason why that is a big reason why people really like that movie. I can tell you.
It was different, and it did.
Yeah, it was different
because it had the whole confrontation with Aunt Violet in the ballroom, with Grant Markham and the bad guys, or the security hauling him off and all that. I mean, it was different. And maybe that is why people really liked it. Yeah. I don't know. I just, that movie, that's
so interesting.
Was like the perfect storm because, you have the Jane Austen fans who love the adaptations. And then we had Ryan Pavey. It was his very first Hallmark movie ever. And at the time he was on General Hospital. And so all the soap fans, watched it. And so we had the Jane Austen fans, we had the soap fans. And I remember that weekend there was a huge blizzard in the Northeast. And I was so worried that people were going to lose their electricity and not be able to see the movie, but they didn't. It was like a bad enough storm that everyone was snowed in, but it wasn't bad enough to lose power. So I think everyone was just watching TV. And so it was just like everything came together perfectly for the audience for that movie. And I'll be forever grateful for it. Oh, and we also had the dogs. Of course, people wanted to tune in to watch that.
Oh, yeah. Well, so you've had 3 books plus a sequel. They got turned into Hallmark movies. Is it something that you think about when you're writing at all? That, how could this be a movie? Or a good Hallmark movie?
No, because I mean, I used to like at first because I was on such a high. I was like, I want everything I write. So, which is really hard. I mean, it's really, really hard to get a movie made, no matter what your track record is. It's just a challenging industry. And so, I have a few projects that I've written. There's a book that I wrote called A Spot of Trouble. And I specifically wrote that book because I thought it would be a great Hallmark movie. And I tried to sell that book to Hallmark Publishing, and they rejected it like faster than I've ever had a book rejected in the history of my career. I mean, I think it took a day. And when I had the idea for that story, story. I was convinced. I was like, this has Hallmark written all over it. It's going to be perfect because it is a rom-com spin on 101 Dalmatians, that book is. And when I wrote, I originally named it The Dalmatian Flirtation, which I thought was the best title.
That's a good title.
But my publisher at the time wanted to change it for whatever reason. They mark it, whatever. To me, I still think of it as The Dalmatian Flirtation. And I had like a fireman with a fire safety dog that was a Dalmatian. And I had a cupcake baker who had a Dalmatian named Sprinkles, who was kind of naughty. And in the course of the book, their dogs get switched and they don't realize it. And it causes all sorts of adorable chaos. And I just thought, well, this is perfect. What could be cuter? I mean, everyone loves Dalmatians. They've made a million movies with,
right. Yeah.
I just thought it would be great. And,
Hallmark. That's interesting.
I know. And
so hard to know.
I know. And I mean, Hallmark didn't like it because, and this was from the publishing arm. So who knows, what the movie people would have said, but they didn't like it because her Dalmatian was naughty. And, Hallmark is really into promoting pet adoption, and they didn't want to have a dog that misbehaved in a project.
Wow.
And I'm like, it wasn't like Cujo. He's not mauling people.
Right. Yeah.
He's running loose in the middle of a baseball game, cute things that are
right. Yeah.
And then it just cracked me up because it was after Unleashing Mr. Darcy, and everyone thinks of me as like the dog lady. And I was like, that is hilarious that they think a Teri Wilson project is going to prevent people from wanting to get a dog. Like, it never crossed my mind that that's what people would say. Yeah. But so anyway, I used to, because but now I just write something that I'm excited about. And, usually it works out, if not for a movie, but for some other reason. I just know that if I really, really love it, and that's why I'm doing it, it's going to work out.
Yeah. So you have these 2 books that are getting published now through Harpeth Road. Well, you had others, but 2 coming up in September. And so was that fun to has it been fun to sort of revisit these books? And
it's been super fun. So, they're books that I wrote originally for Hallmark Publishing. And then when the Hallmark Publishing arm closed, it took like a year, I think. And then all the authors got their rights back and we could do with the stories whatever we wanted. And I just wanted my stories back out there. I mean, I feel like I did a lot of my best writing, my best work for Hallmark. And that is just where my heart is writing that type of story. Like I was saying earlier, I just, for me, it's an escape to write those types of fun, lighthearted stories that have kind of a worldview of kindness to them. And that's what I'm doing with all my work right now. And so they're some of my most beloved stories, and I wanted them to be back out there. Yeah. But at the same time, I love to write. I have no interest in self-publishing, that sort of thing. So I didn't really know what to do. And so I talked to Jenny, and I was really grateful that she was interested in bringing them on for Harpeth Road, because it's given them a completely new life. They have all new covers that to me are stunning. Like, I liked the original covers, but these are just beyond. They're just gorgeous. And I think they match the stories even better than the original covers. And like I said, our readership is so similar that I just feel like they've gotten a brand new chance.
Yeah. I know it's a cool opportunity, because people hopefully that missed it in the Hallmark's time will hopefully get a chance to see them or to read them. Now.
And Harpeth Road does a lot of stuff in Kindle Unlimited, and I've never had books in Kindle Unlimited before. And I feel like that's a whole different untapped reader for me, because I've never had books in that program.
Well, why don't we talk about Christmas Charms? Okay. And I don't know if you can tell the audience a little bit about the book.
So Christmas Charms is a book with a little dash of Christmas magic. It's the first book that I've written like that. I think it's the only book I've written that has like a little magical element. But it's about a heroine who at the beginning of the book is has some bad things happen to her. I don't want to give anything away. She thinks she's going to Paris for Christmas with her fiance, but instead they break up. And she ends up going home to her tiny hometown of Owl Lake in upstate New York. And so she's on the train going home in the middle of the night, distraught. Her life's been a mess. and she meets a woman on the train that has this beautiful charm bracelet with all these Christmas themed charms. And my heroine falls asleep, and when she wakes up, the woman's gone, and she's left her bracelet. And she tries to find the woman and give the bracelet back. She can't find her, so she puts the bracelet on her own arm just to keep it safe while she's disembarking the train and everything. And then right away, strange things start happening. So the separate charms on the bracelet all represent something different. And through the course of her holiday, all those charms start coming to life, kind of like they start coming true. So the first charm that she sees is a dog with like a little ribbon on it. And she gets home and there's a dog with a ribbon around its neck that looks just like the charm on her parents' front porch. And she's like, when did you guys get a dog? And they're like, oh, we didn't, you know. So one by one, the charms start predicting things that are going to happen to her over her Christmas holiday. And she can't get the bracelet off. It's stuck on her arm. She doesn't know what's happening. There's a little jingle noise every time one of the charms comes true. And the last charm on the bracelet is a little engagement ring charm. So you don't really know, like, you know, she reconnects with her old high school boyfriend while she's home, but then there's also the fiance who comes back. You don't really know what's going to happen at the end with that engagement ring charm. So that's the basis of the book, and it was really fun to write something magical like that.
Yeah, I did read it back when it was first released. It's been a bit, but yeah, it's charming. It really is.
Thank you.
Yeah. The idea and second chance romance is always fun.
Oh, yes. I love second chance romance, especially if they hate each other now, or if one hates the other one, which was kind of the thing. And so her high school boyfriend in this story is a fireman. And she keeps trying to leave and go back to New York City, and multiple things happen. He keeps having to rescue her. She keeps getting stuck in the snow, you know, or whatever. And here he comes in his fire engine rescuing her again. And it just makes her more and more mad every time. But it was a really fun story to write. And my stepdad is a retired firefighter. So I do write firefighters, but that was my first one. So that's another reason why I really liked that story.
Are you a jewelry person? Do you? Yeah.
I love jewelry, and I love charm bracelets. I have them on.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, I really do. I love them. And my dog Charm, I got her while I was writing that book.
Oh, so that's right. Your dog's named Charm.
I named her after the book. Yeah. So, my first Cavalier King Charles Spaniel, Bliss, that was in Unleashing Mr. Darcy, the book, she passed away while I was writing Christmas Charms. And then I got Charm. So the book is dedicated in memory of Bliss, but Charm is named after the book.
Oh, I love that. That's very cute. Today's episode of the podcast is sponsored by Acorns. Investing can feel intimidating, and most people don't know where to start. I remember when I first started investing, it was very overwhelming. That's where Acorns comes in. Acorns makes it easy to start automatically saving and investing in your future. Acorns is an app that recommends an expert-built portfolio that fits you and your money goals, and you don't need a lot of money or expertise to invest with them. In fact, you can get started with Acorns with just your spare change. Head to acorns.com/hallmarkies or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. This is a paid, non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/hallmarkies. Head over to acorns.com/hallmarkies or download the Acorns app to start saving and investing for your future today. That's acorns.com/hallmarkies. Let's talk about Once Upon a Royal Christmas. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about that one?
Well, after I think I already told you guys about Once Upon a Royal Summer, I loved writing that so much. I wanted to do another book that was similar, you know, that we could tie together in a series. So instead of a theme park princess, the main character in Once Upon a Royal Christmas is a children's party princess. She owns a business. That's her job. She has a whole staff of women who dress up as princesses to perform at children's birthday parties or community events, you know, that sort of a thing. And at the beginning of the book, her assistant enters her in a contest. There's a let's see, a principality. There's a foreign, it's kind of like Monaco, in Switzerland type area.
Mhm.
There's a little country that's trying to promote their tourism. So the royal family decides to hold a contest and bring someone over to perform in their annual Christmas ice festival. And her assistant has secretly taped her at one of her parties and enters her in the contest, and she gets picked. So she goes over there, and she's going to be bringing home a nice cash prize, but she's over there for the holidays to help do a little tourism tour. And she immediately does not get along with the crown prince of the country, who thinks this whole idea is completely absurd and ridiculous. So, of course, they end up having to do a lot of the personal appearances together, and things happen from there. But it was really fun. Everything's really cold and Nordic, and there's a lot of hot chocolate. There's a Christmas tree maze, and of course they get in a snowball fight.
Nice.
To me, it was kind of like loosely inspired by the movie Frozen from Disney. So I was trying to make it really cold and icy, and with a snow queen type character. The character that she plays, Princess Snowflake, is based on, the Snow Queen legend that is the basis of Frozen. So
Sure. Yeah. Was it fun to create like a whole fake country and all that stuff?
Oh yeah, it's always fun to create a fake country. I always love that, because you can do, whatever you want.
Yeah.
So, they have like a gondola thing in the sky. They have the Christmas tree maze. Like, I was looking up a bunch of different European Christmas traditions and trying to come up with new things, because I love writing Christmas books, holiday books. I usually write one every year, so I have a lot now. But the challenge with doing them is, making them different. Because I'm always trying to make it a little bit different, because, I mean, come on, we all, and there's a Christmas tree lighting in in Christmas Charms, there's always the Christmas tree lighting. There's the same things that pop up. We were going to bake cookies, we're going to decorate the Christmas tree, but I try and find something new and different every time I do a holiday romance. And I was really excited about the Christmas tree maze. It's kind of like a corn maze, like for
Yeah, it's clever.
It's made out of Christmas trees. So that was my fun, different thing that I came up with for that book. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very creative. Yeah, and I read this one as well, and I remember enjoying it. It's just a nice little bit of escapism that you want in this kind of royal book.
Yes.
It kind of reminded me of Crown for Christmas.
That's probably my favorite royal Hallmark Christmas movie. I watch them all. I don't watch all. I try and watch all the Hallmark Christmas movies, but that's a tall order, because
it is. It's like a part-time job.
I never miss a royal one. I mean, I always look forward to the royal one. I remember a few years ago they didn't have one, and I was like ready to riot. I'm like, where's the royal movie? So I always watch the royal ones, but Crown for Christmas, I mean, I own that one. I bought it, because that's
a classic.
My favorites. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm dying for them to release the slate. Maybe by the time this airs, they will have released it. But just dying to know what exactly, because we've gotten some hints of movies here and there, but I really want to know what the 40 movies are going to be this year.
I know.
Wild.
So
yeah. Well, we like to end our interviews with some fun get to know you questions, and you did way back 2019. The actual interview that you did. We did the normal everyday questions, and so today you have the holiday themed questions. Okay, to go with your 2 holiday themed books that are coming out at Harpeth Road. Okay. We have first question: what is your favorite holiday drink?
Well, it used to be gingerbread latte, but like we haven't had those the past few years from Starbucks. I mean, I love any holiday drink. I'm going to go ahead and say hot chocolate, specifically French hot chocolate, and there's a lot of that in Once Upon a Royal Summer. They have that special hot chocolate, that really, really rich hot chocolate. Yeah. It's like a melted chocolate bar. That's
good. What is your favorite holiday cookie or treat?
Well, I mean, this is not very traditional, but when I was a kid growing up, we always used to have these big family gatherings on my dad's side of the family. And my mom always brought the same dessert, like what she was famous for. And like I said, this is what she did every Christmas. It's not a traditional Christmas dessert, but it was cherry cheesecake. And it was my favorite. And so that's my sentimental favorite holiday dessert, because that's what I grew up with my mom making every year. And I just loved it. And then she taught me how to make it. It's, a regular cheesecake, but with, dark cherry pie filling, like just like dumped all over the top. It's so good. Yeah. So I still like associate that with Christmas, or maybe like a Black Forest cake, something with that dark cherry. That's always my favorite at the holidays.
What is your favorite Christmas song or carol?
Oh, Holy Night has always been my favorite. It makes me cry.
Yeah. I do kind of cringe when I hear that it's gonna be, I can tell, oh, they're about to sing "Oh Holy Night" in one of these movies, just because it's such like a melodramatic song that it usually just doesn't fit with these movies. And it's a little heavy, I think, for most of these movies. And I find it's a lot of times that, because it's a super hard song. And I find that a lot of times that people aren't quite up for it, like it's
national anthem of Christmas.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
and I mean,
that high note, man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you asked my favorite Christmas song or carol, not one like from a movie.
No, I know.
Like just like when I hear it, on the radio or play it, or whatever. That's my favorite.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful, especially when like one of the divas does it, with like Mariah Carey or someone like that.
It's more like, the Mariah Carey variety of Christmas song.
Yeah.
Christmas Is You. That's better for like a rom-com.
Yes. So what is your favorite classic Christmas movie?
Well, probably a classic Christmas movie. I'm going to say It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
I watch that every year. I never saw it. I never saw it growing up. I saw it for my first time as an adult. I was making these special chocolate chip cookies I like to make every Christmas, and it was just on the TV. And so I was watching it, and I just loved it so much.
Yeah.
And it has like a dash of Christmas magic, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that movie.
So which do you like better, Scrooge or the Grinch?
The Grinch.
Which do you like better, clear lights or colored?
Clear.
Okay, which would you rather do, be in a snowball fight or build a snowman?
Build a snowman. I'm not violent. I'm also from Texas, so I don't know if I would fare very well.
Would you consider yourself a good gift wrapper or not?
Oh, well, I would, except my husband is like professional level.
Oh.
I mean, he's like so good at it.
Right.
And I know everyone knows it. And so now he wraps all of our gifts. So, we get the gifts, I'll put like a sticky or whatever, and he wraps them all. And sometimes, I'll do the bow, but he even likes to do the bow because, I'll just like stick those adhesive bows on it. And, he wants to like make a bow like from scratch. So, I'm good.
I'm a big
passable. I'm a
bow on it.
But I take the short way out.
Yeah. Well, last question. Do you have an ugly Christmas sweater?
Oh yeah, I have a lot.
You have a lot.
Yes. In fact, I have a sweater that one of my friends asked me to borrow a couple years ago. One of my best friends, she sent me a text. She's like, "Hey, can I borrow that powder blue sweater that you have with the big Santa on it?" And I said, "Sure." She said, "I want to wear it to my office party." I said, "Sure, great." She's like, "Oh, it'll be perfect. We're having an ugly sweater party." And I was like, "Well,"
you're like, rude.
No, it was like I didn't consider it an ugly sweater, but apparently it is. So I wear them non-ironically. Like I actually like.
That's really funny.
Yeah.
As long as she gave it back.
I know. I mean, I made a social media post about it. I was like, that moment when your best friend asked to borrow your ugly Christmas sweater when you didn't realize it was ugly.
That's funny. That's really good. Well, you did it. You answered all the questions. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast, and congrats on all the books. And we'll have affiliate links down below for the 2 Harpeth Road books we talked about. And yeah, we'll look forward to what's coming out next from you. Very
awesome.
fun.
Thank you so much. It was great chatting.
Yeah. So do you have social media or anything like that you want to share?
Yes. My main social media is Instagram, and you can find me there at Teri Wilson Author, TeriWilson Author, AUTHOR. on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook, but like I said, I'm way more active on Instagram than I am anywhere else. So that's it. Or
We'll have that all
terrywilson.net.
we'll have that all in the description. People can check out. And thanks again, and hope you have a great holiday season.
Thank you. You too.
We'd like to thank Teri for coming on the podcast. This was so much fun to get to talk with her. Had a blast. And let us know what you think about all the different things we talked about. And if you read any of her books, particularly the 2 from Harpeth Road coming out, if you get a chance to read them, definitely let us know what you think. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Bookreads. And also you can find the podcast at Hallmark's Pod, Hallmark's Podcast, all over social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. It really, really helps us a lot. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We really, really, really appreciate that. And we also have our Patreon group, which is the biggest way you can support us, and the merch store. So take a look at that. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.